Let's look at the last virtue, or the last description of love mentioned in verse 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 7. And it says, love endures all things. This is very difficult for some in modern society to accept when we understand the implications. Love endures all things. Love puts up with it. In the same book in 1 Corinthians, let's turn, if you've got a Bible, we're going to look at a few Bible verses here. And let's go to chapter 6 and in verse 7 and see what was going on. And to a lot of us that live today in the modern world, we might really be surprised at what Paul, the Apostle Paul, is telling these people. It says, now therefore it is already an utter failure for you to go to law against one another. Okay, he's writing to people in the church. Something's going on in this church that they are suing each other. They are taking each other to court. And he's saying here that that is a failure. Okay? It is an utter failure, he says. And then he goes on, listen carefully to what the Apostle Paul wrote to the church of Corinth so many years ago. He says, why do you not rather accept the wrong? Why do you not rather let yourselves be cheated? I need to confront this person. They are abusing me and they need to be held accountable. Isn't that the attitude that so many people have today? What is Paul saying when he says, why not let yourself be wronged? Why not let yourself be cheated? That's what he's talking about in chapter 13, verse 7, when he says love endures all. Love will allow somebody to cheat them. Love will allow somebody to do them wrong. Socrates is known to have said, it is better to suffer evil than to do it. Paul's echoing that. Paul is echoing that. Now let's turn to what many consider the greatest sermon ever preached. And this is in the book of Matthew. It is referring to the Sermon on the Mount. We're going to go to chapter 5, verse 43. You have heard it said that you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, this is Jesus speaking, I say to you, love your enemies, bless those that curse you, do good to those that hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven, and he that makes the sun rise on evil and on good, and sends rain to the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward is it? What reward is there for you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? Jesus Christ commanded us to love our enemies. Now Paul, in the book of Romans that he wrote to Romans, the letter he wrote to Romans, in chapter 12 and verse 19, he echoes something written by Moses back in Deuteronomy. And he says, vengeance belongs to the Lord. Have you heard of karma? Karma is what comes around goes around. If you do good deeds in the future, good things will happen to you. If you do bad deeds in the future, bad things will happen to you. Well, this teaching is not from the Bible, but it's from a lot of ancient societies, specifically those in the East, that believe this. How did they come to this belief? My suggestion is that they came to this belief by observation. They observed that that is what happens to people. When they do bad things happen to them. When they do good things good things happen to them. That is very consistent with the teaching of Paul and Moses that vengeance belongs to the Lord. We do not need to get revenge upon our enemies. God does that for us. God does that for us. Do you know what that means? That means we don't have to worry about it. We are free to love our enemies as Jesus Christ commanded us. And you see, it really troubles our spirit. Psychologically, it gives us anguish when we worry about revenge. When we worry about, oh, this person is abusing me, I need to call the police, I need to report them to the authorities, I need to do this, I need to do that. And we get so wound up in all of that psychological mess. And psychologically, it is much easier for us to say, forget about it. I'm going to put them into God's hands, and I'll let God deal with them. I'm just going to continue on my life. And that gives us a lot less stress. There are times that we have to report people to the authorities, especially when they are abusing children, when they are doing something that really harms society. We need to turn that over to the authorities. But there's a principle there. Let the authorities deal with it. Let the authorities and God deal with it. And we can step back and still love that person, forgive that person, and go on with our lives. Love endures all things.